So, the movie begins with a girl named Debbie who finds an Ouija board while cleaning her house. The moment she sees it, she recalls her childhood, when she first met her friend Laine, and the two of them started playing with this board. Back then, Debbie had told Laine that the Ouija board could connect them to spirits, and that it was important to always end the game by saying goodbye. As soon as she comes across the board, she gets a call from Laine. Before meeting her, Debbie burns the Ouija board and steps outside. Laine was actually waiting for her so they could go watch a football game together. But Debbie refused, saying, "My parents aren't home. They'll be back soon. I can't come with you today, Laine. We'll meet tomorrow morning." Laine agrees and Debbie says goodbye before heading back inside. It was dinner time. She sat down to eat alone when suddenly, the backyard door creaked open. She didn't panic. She went to check, but there was no one there. She closed the door, puzzled. When she came back to the kitchen, she noticed the stove was on, even though she had left it off. Debbie quickly turned it off, but then she heard a noise upstairs. When she went to her room, she was shocked to see the Ouija board lying on her bed, the same one she had burned earlier. As she walked, the planchette slid across the floor and bumped into her foot. She picked it up and looked through its lens. We see that her eye turns completely white, showing that something had possessed her. Debbie then takes the string of fairy lights from her room and wraps them around her neck. She jumps from the first floor, gets strangled, and dies. The next morning, we see Laine, who gets the heartbreaking news from her mother that her best friend Debbie, the same one she was with last night, has passed away. Shocked and devastated, Laine, along with her family and Debbie's other friends, visit Debbie's parents to console them. Laine is deeply shaken by what happened. She goes into Debbie's room to remember her, where she finds the planchette from the Ouija board. Then Debbie's mom comes in too and gives Laine a box filled with things from her and Debbie's childhood. Little memories of Debbie. Laine takes the box home and finds old pictures, their friendship bands, and some videos inside. Looking at everything, Laine spends the whole night thinking about Debbie. The next day at school, she tells her friends that even though Debbie is gone, she still feels like Debbie isn't really dead, like she's still around her. Laine says that if Debbie ever wants to tell her something, she wants to be able to talk back. And the only way to do that is through the Ouija board. So Laine decides to try the Ouija board with her sister Sarah and her group of friends, hoping to reach Debbie. They choose to play at Debbie's house, believing there's a stronger chance of contacting her there. Laine goes to Debbie's room, picks up the Ouija board and the planchette, and then they all sit down to play. They each place a finger on the planchette. First, they ask if anyone else is there with them. At first, nothing happens. But after a few minutes, the planchette suddenly slides to, yes, that means someone really is there. Then it moves to hi friends. Whoever it was greeting them. They ask, who are you? The planchette moves to D, which makes them think it could be Debbie. They begin pouring their hearts out, telling Debbie how much they miss her. After that, they say goodbye, and the planchette also moves to goodbye, as if the spirit itself is saying farewell. Right at that moment, the house lights go out. Everyone is shocked at how suddenly it happened. Laine and two of her friends grab their phone flashlights and head to check the main switch. While walking through the house, Laine steps into the kitchen and sees the stove burning. As soon as she turned off the stove, Pete, who was standing right next to her, suddenly screamed as he stepped forward. There was a mirror in front of him. When everyone rushed over, they asked, "What happened?" Pete said, "I just saw someone's shadow in the mirror, and then someone pushed me from behind. My hand hit the mirror and got cut." The whole thing was terrifying. That's why they all quickly left the house and went back to their own places. But from that day on, strange things began happening to each of them. For example, one of her friends, Trevor, was out somewhere when a trolley suddenly rolled in front of him, and he barely escaped an accident. Right after that, the words, "Hi friends," appeared on the wall in front of him. Meanwhile, another friend, Isabel, saw "Hi friends" written in her car as she was heading home. Even Pete got a text with the same words. Back at her place, Laine saw "Hi friends" pop up on her laptop. All of them, separately, started getting really worried. The next morning at school, they all shared what had happened. They figured it must be Debbie trying to tell them something. So they decided to play the Ouija board again soon, hoping to reach out to her and find out what she wanted to say. That night, they all went back to Debbie's house. Sitting around the same dining table, they set up the Ouija board once more, placing their fingers on the planchette. The first question they asked was, "Debbie, If you're here with us, give us a sign. And as soon as they said that, a chair in front of them slid across the floor. They weren't scared yet, so they asked another question. Are you Debbie? The planchette suddenly slid to asterisk no asterisk. That meant it wasn't Debbie. Then the planchette moved toward the letters D and Z. That meant whatever spirit was there, its name began with D and Z. After that, the planchette started spelling out more words, and the message read, Run, Mother is coming. That means, run, Mom is coming. As soon as she says this, the Ouija board flies up. All four of them scream and run away. Later, Laine comes home. She's deeply saddened by Debbie's death and starts re-watching Debbie's old videos. In one of them, Debbie talks about the Ouija board. It actually didn't belong to Debbie. She found it in the attic of her house, which once belonged to the previous owners. After learning this, Laine decides she'll go check Debbie's attic the very next day. She really wants to know who the spirits talking to her are, and whether they were connected to the family that once lived in Debbie's house. The next day, she goes up into the attic. There, she discovers many old belongings, along with photos of the family who used to live there. That's when she learns that the house once belonged to the Xander family. As she digs deeper, she uncovers shocking information. The family had 3 women, 1 mother and 2 daughters. The youngest was named Doris, and the elder was named Paulina. What happened in that house was far from ordinary. The younger sister, Doris, mysteriously vanished and was never found anywhere in the world. Meanwhile, the older sister, Paulina, was arrested for murdering their mother. After being released, she was committed to a mental hospital. Laine then decides to meet Paulina herself to uncover the truth about what happened inside that house. When she meets her, Paulina begins telling the story of her family. Their mother was heavily involved in spiritual rituals, which allowed her to contact spirits. At first, her only intention was to reach out to her deceased husband, but over time, it became her business. She wanted a medium who could channel the voices of spirits, and so she connected her youngest daughter, Doris, to them. Soon, the spirits began speaking through Doris's voice. At first, this connection helped their mother greatly, but eventually the voices grew stronger and spiraled out of control, beyond what she could handle. So she stitched Doris's lips shut so Doris couldn't say anything or connect with the spirits. But the moment she did that, everything went terribly wrong. Doris vanished in a strange way, and no one has been able to find her since. Now Paulina tells Laine that because she used the Ouija board, there's a connection between her and Doris. It's possible Laine might be able to find Doris's body, something no one else could. Paulina explains that in her house, there's a hidden basement room that no one knows about. Paulina thought her sister's body could be there. She tells Laine that there's only one way to end all of this. Laine has to find Doris's body and cut her lips open. Only then will Doris's spirit be freed, and Laine will also be free from all of this. Laine goes home and tells her friends about everything. At first, everyone is terrified and doesn't want to get involved, but in the end, they decide that, according to Paulina, they'll search for Doris's body. Laine's sister Sarah, along with Trevor and Pete, head down to the basement of Debbie's house, the one Paulina mentioned. As soon as they enter the basement, strange things start happening. Suddenly, everyone except Laine is attacked and knocked unconscious. The attacker turns out to be Doris's mother, who also died there. Laine manages to escape from her and finally reaches the spot where Doris's body lies, her lips still sewn shut. Laine quickly cuts the stitches on Doris's lips. This frees her mother's spirit, allowing her to leave this world, and one problem seems to be solved. But Laine doesn't realize that by solving this problem, she's created a far greater one. Cutting Doris's lips gave her a voice, making her spirit even more powerful. At the time, they didn't notice this, but the very next day, Doris possesses Pete, sews his lips shut just like hers were, and kills him. As soon as Laine finds out, she goes to Paulina to ask her what was going on, just like she had said. According to her, they had done everything. But still, how did her friend die? And why were his lips stitched shut just like Doris's? Then Paulina started laughing uncontrollably when she heard this. She said, "I played a game with you to free my sister. You opened her mouth, which set her free. Now she's coming to kill all of you." Laine was very disturbed and completely trapped by Paulina's words. Anxious, she went to talk with her sister Sarah, and together they went to their grandmother to find a solution. First, they told their grandmother everything, how it all started and how they were now trapped. Their lives were in danger and they wanted a way out. Grandmother explained that Doris and the Ouija board were connected, So if they burned Doris's body along with the Ouija board, all the connections would be broken and they would finally be free. To make everything right again, Sarah, Laine, and Trevor set out on a mission. They went to the basement of Debbie's house to do exactly what their grandmother had instructed. But as soon as they arrived, Doris possessed Trevor and killed him, something Laine and Sarah didn't realize. They went downstairs carrying the Ouija board. Laine started up the furnace so she could burn Doris's body along with the Ouija board. But then we saw Doris grab Sarah and drag her to the secret room where she had been killed. Doris was about to stitch Sarah's lips shut. Just before Sarah could die or something terrible could happen to her, Laine came up with an idea. She starts playing the Ouija board because she knew that through this game, the surrounding spirits would be drawn to them. Her plan worked, and as soon as the game began, Doris appeared. Doris wanted to stop the game, so she immediately tried to push the planchette toward goodbye. Laine fought with all her strength to stop her, but human strength is always weaker than a ghost's. Just then, Debbie's spirit, Laine's friend, came to help, and together they pushed against Doris. They struggled to keep the planchette from reaching goodbye. Taking advantage of the moment, Sarah quickly grabbed Doris's dead body and threw it into the furnace. At the same time, Laine picked up the Ouija board and tossed it into the fire as well, without finishing the game. As soon as both the body and the board burned, Doris's spirit vanished from this world, and they finally succeeded in their mission. But the loss of their three friends left them heartbroken. In the post-credits scene, we see Laine back in her room. She notices the planchette lying there. When she picks it up and looks through its lens, her eyes appear completely normal again, just like a regular human's. This shows that all the evil has finally come to an end, and that's where the story closes. Let me know your thoughts. Also, subscribe to this channel for more horror stories like this.